This is Breaking Through the Mayhem, the Silently podcast series, bringing marketing industry leaders together to discuss the ever-shifting media landscape. Learn about the ins and outs of real-time marketing, brand safety, influencers, data privacy, technology, and so much more. All from industry experts with real experience, giving you the real answers. Now, let's break through the mayhem.
So welcome back to Sitely's Breaking Through the Mayhem podcast here live at the Brand Safety Summit. We're talking a lot about marketing in a time of constantly shifting risk and opportunity, and we're lucky to have, in my personal opinion, one of the greats in our industry to be able to talk about that. I know he gets mad at me when I say that, but I will be very, very clear that I've worked with this guy for a long, long time. And I thoroughly respect his opinion, and not only that, he's one of the good guys left doing this. So I want to, with all that, I'm going to introduce you to Alex Stone from Horizon Media. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself, what he does day to day, and then we're going to jump into some really important topics today.
Thanks so much, Adam. It's been a while since I've been in front of a microphone like this. I was a DJ back in college, DJ ST 4-3. You do the math, I'll play the music. So it is a thrill to be here with you today at Brand Safety Summit. Rob Rasco put together a really nice show here today. Adam, you've been immense. You've been a great guy for me over the past several years, and somebody that I've definitely connected, going through a lot with. To give some background on myself, my name's Alex Stone. I've been working at Horizon Media now the past 8 years.
Wow.
I head up advanced video solutions, so that's everything addressable TV, data-driven linear, and also agency partnerships across the board. So it's a position that really evolved. It used to just be digitally related, but as the silos have come down, as we've seen with consumption habits, where so much is happening in the streaming TV world, so has that position. So it's all agency partnerships. And I also manage a little pizza brand, Little Caesars, which definitely keeps me busy.
That's awesome.
Pizza.
In terms of, obviously, as you think about your role, you work with so many different partners, but I think one of the huge topics that's been going on during this week has been talking a lot about how crazy our world is today, right? And obviously our world probably was always crazy. We just didn't think about it as much. We weren't as vigilant to it, and we also weren't surrounded by it as much as we are today, right? And obviously, we think a lot at our company about this topic, and I know you guys do. You guys doing a phenomenal job of worrying about where your brands go, how they think, and how they react, right? So in today's world where the speed of culture is as fast as it is, how are you guys keeping up with that opportunity and risk within Horizon Media, and how do you guys focus on educating brands to do so?
Right, yeah. So, I think we've got a real culture of collaboration at Horizon Media. We understand our specialties, and we know when the best time is to connect internally. What's great about it at Horizon is there's very little red tape. So Jason Lee, who I think you've spoken to earlier, that's somebody that I communicate with constantly. As the head of agency partnerships, if something's going on with any of the big ones, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is, I might have a line into those guys and may be able to get information that will help us inform our POV or our stance. And really everything that we do, it has a lot of eyeballs on it. It's something that Bill Koenigsberg himself really reviews and makes sure that our point of view really is married to our brand, Horizon Media. Which, our personal brand motto is business is personal, right? So that really plays into all the decisions that are made from a macro level. And then really we put our POVs together, but we often leave it up to our clients, our advertisers to make that last call of, okay, there's too much turmoil going on this platform, or, okay, this is a character that's no longer brand safe and not brand suitable. How do we avoid that? What do we do? We are here to coach and advise, but ultimately we allow our accounts to call the shots on whether or not they want to pause or remain live.
Gotcha. And have you found a challenge, this is a tough question, have you found a challenge where individuals have their own personal bias, right, and brands have their bias, and how you're educating your own people to be able to be comfortable with those decisions? Has that been a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, for brands to do this right, it's important for brands to understand who they are. What is their culture? Where do their ethics lie, or their personality? What's their brand personality? Once a brand really understands that, they could begin to dissect and think about whether or not there are certain areas, environments, trending topics that are right for them or wrong for them. Again, these are conversations that our boots on the ground, whether they're our social marketplace team or our digital investment, video investment, business solutions teams, we're constantly having these conversations with our clients daily basis to make sure that we're aligned.
In terms of like improvement that you think the industry needs, right? Let's take Horizon out of it. You guys are the best, right? You guys have all these setups. You're doing all these amazing things. It's super impressive, right? If you had to give advice to what you think's missing in our industry to solve some of these problems that right now is just not there, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say there's measurement issues? Would you say there's issues around the ability to figure out other ways to look at metrics other than just ROI? Where do you hope this goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest hole that we've been trying to fill, and it's something that I preach about, I've been quoted in the press about, has been transparency. So that's transparency in the video space, in the programmatic space. It tends to get very cloudy very quickly. So how could we make this environment something that our historic linear video buyers, make them more comfortable with what they're buying in the programmatic space? So that's really working with the networks to understand what data they can pass back. Is this data that can be passed back via a tech service like an SSP? Is this something that maybe we're thinking about it wrong, and it needs to be commingled data so we understand genre level programming, but it's something that a third party arbitrator is deciding versus a network.
Gotcha. And I think that's a huge topic, right? Like, when you think about it, a lot of the decisions that get made in our industry are outside of some of your guys' hands, right? So how is Horizon Media doing its best to try to be at all those tables? What are some of the tables you guys like to be at? Or is it, the Brand Safety Institute? Is it sitting at conferences like this? Where do you guys like to put yourselves so that you guys stay at the top of the heap?
Yeah, no, I think we dabble in a lot of different conferences. Certainly the Brand Safety Summit is one that is a priority for us, and one that we have done things with in the past. For me, I don't want to hear the same story over and over.
We all don't anymore.
Yeah, I want to go to these conferences and walk away with something. Oh, this is new. I learned this. So whether it's a conference that's specifically talking about programmatic, something that's definitely more prevalent now in the media age, or whether it's a Brand Safety Summit, I think you often have similar strings and similar conversations going on. The programmatic conferences, it's more like, how do we get this done? And Brand Safety Summit is like more of what needs to get done. So it's
interesting. So you ultimately, are you saying that you're a big fan, and your advice to the viewers would be to go to more niche things so that people could start to really understand that topic, and that ultimately this industry has so many acronyms, so many names, and so many different things going on that it's very easy to get lost in the shuffle, right? So how does Alex learn? What's Alex Stone's day-to-day way of staying up to speed?
All right, so I mean, for me to stay up to speed, I'm constantly reading Digiday, Adweek, Ad Age. I'm reading those as much of the free content as I can, and if I don't have a login,
you're asking someone to
try to get access. But in addition to that, I take a lot of meetings. This isn't an invitation to reach out to me and ask for a meeting. However, if you are a relevant vendor that has been working with teams within my agency, it's incumbent upon me to know your insides and outs and what you're really about. Are you, an inventor, or are you a pretender? Like, what's going on here?
I think that's a great point. Yeah. I think I'm asking you a lot about what you can do and what Horizon could do. I think we should talk about what we could all do, right? I think a lot of the partners and the vendors need to help you guys know what's going on too, right? So I think one of the things you do a great job of working with you over the years is really reaching out to get that information from the source that knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, another thing it sparked something I was thinking of. We have these different councils within Horizon. Again, like we want hand raisers. We want people that are leaned in and involved. I don't want to have to ask for nominations or beg people to participate. And so one thing we do have is we have a digital privacy center of excellence.
Wow.
Right? And this is 25 people throughout the agency. It's not just digital. The video investment team is vested in it. We have analytics, programmatic, doesn't matter. And we meet on a monthly basis. We talk all about what's pressing, what's hot, what's going on right now in the world of, in this case, it's privacy. And then we often end that with 30 minutes of real talk with a partner, a vendor that comes in and talks about what's going on in their world from a privacy perspective. And it isn't one of those, hey, here's a 20-slide deck. We're going to read every word on the slide. This is more of like, hey, we've got 5 slides. Feel free to interrupt. And there are interruptions.
I love that. And listen, what you're basically saying is passionate people who want to step up and do this themselves is even more important than pushing people to do it.
Correct.
And it's beautiful that you guys have that culture over at Horizon. In terms of probably some of my last questions here as I have you on the podcast, let's talk about you for a second, right? How does Alex make decisions, right, in his day-to-day life today? Like when you wake up and you want to buy something, right? How has your journey of purchasing changed, since you were that DJ, right? Like obviously things have changed. You now have couple of kids, you have a different life. So how has your purchasing decisions changed over time?
Adam, I just want to correct you. I have 3 kids. So a couple of kids, that's easy. I've got 3. So a lot of my decisions are made on Father's Day, on my birthday. They're made for me. A lot of my clothing decisions, or sometimes when I'm going to work and I might look in the mirror on the way to work, or something might happen and I'm like, all right, I got to run into J. Crew. Why do I know about a brand like J. Crew? I'm seeing them on social media. I'm seeing them in email, and they're catching me. And when it's not J. Crew, like I lean into like Stitch Fix and a lot of these convenient oriented ways to make sure that I'm staying relevant from a clothing and style perspective.
I think 2 things that I'll point out, here as we wrap up and kind of give you the last question. Some of the big topics that have been coming up today, they're pretty consistent, right? Where you have obviously people making decisions and trying to understand the consumer more and more than ever before, right? We've actually at Sightly been practicing, like we'll just get in a room and ask each other, like, how'd you buy something today? What'd you read today? What'd you think about? Just to try to stay human in the process at which, because I feel like we get so acronym and technical at times in our industry that we forget that like we all do the same things every day, right?
Right. So we have our own anecdotes as well. It's not just what you necessarily read online or hear in a podcast, but like we have our own experiences. Again, like having kids, that's way different from when I first entered the industry and I was going to every media event I possibly could. You kind of have to think about like, what are my kids into? Whether it's like Pokemon and soccer or Nintendo Switch, and that often informs like what I'm doing on the weekends is what are they interested in and what hobbies can I help build for them as they grow in this world.
Yeah, and I think also the second thing that I'll bring up as we wrap up, not to give a selfish plug to ourselves here down the stretch, but we're heavily focused on the speed of information, right? And how you make risk and opportunity decisions every single day.
Yep.
And I think it's really difficult to do that at scale, right? So I know you guys are working very, very hard at how to do that at Horizon Media over time. And I'm not saying that we're gonna help you with that or not, but in the end, like if you had a utopia, right, 7-8 years from now, let's just say, Alex, now 15 years at Horizon, we're going into 2030.
Oh man, yeah.
And you felt that you could really move at the speed of today's information. What would utopia look like to you?
It's really having the finger on the pulse, right? So finger on the pulse with brand suitability and understanding, this is how, if I'm running an account, this is how my account looks at brand suitable, environments. And a lot of that I know Sightly really brings to the table with what we're doing with you guys in the YouTube world. So it's more of how does something like that expand to the other platforms? How does that expand programmatically, right? So I think in my utopia, it is one platform across all things versus having to go to disparate
completely agree.
platforms.
And it would allow all of your people to do what's so great about them, which is their passion, right?
Yeah.
Then they don't have to be overthinking these little minutia things while their passion is leading the way. So what I've learned today about Alex here on Breaking Through the Mayhem is, listen, this is hard, right? But Horizon Media is doing a phenomenal job of bringing together teams, having the people that raise their hand become the passionate ones that are doing this, which makes it so much better because you have people in the room that actually want to talk about these things and want to make them better. And then on top of that, as Alex stated, they bring in vendors that are really, really helping them. So this has been a really, really cool session. Thank you so much for joining us, and signing off.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe, one of the producers for Sightly's Breaking Through the Mayhem podcast. We want to thank you so much for listening to the show. If you want to learn more about the guests we had on today, we included additional information about them in the show notes. Finally, if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you know someone that would make a great fit, you can fill out the form at sightly.com/podcast. We hope you have a great day.